Major developments in the investigation of suspected New York and New Jersey bomber Ahmaud Rami. Did the FBI overlook another warning, this time from the alleged terrorist's own father? Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge has the details. Catherine?
Well, thanks, Juan. The suspect's father told reporters in New Jersey today that he warned the feds about his son 2 years ago.
Because
what happened?
He's doing bad.
He's doing bad? What would he do bad?
He stopped my son. He hit my wife, and I put him in jail 2 years ago.
Who's he? What son did he stab?
Master.
Okay, what happened? Why did he stab him?
That wasn't for no reason. 2 years ago, I called the API. My son, he's doing very bad, okay? They checked it almost 2 months.
Investigation's still going on, guys.
He's okay.
We don't know yet.
He's not a terrorist. I said, okay. Now he says he's a terrorist. I said, okay.
We first told you about that prior contact here on Fox News yesterday between the FBI and Rahami before the dramatic arrest. The victim in that domestic dispute alleged that Rahami also showed signs of possible radicalization. Two sources confirmed to Fox the FBI followed up on the lead. There was not enough to pursue it, and the original allegations were withdrawn. A lot of other people have picked up this story today, and just within the last hour or so, the FBI has issued a statement that reads in part, quote, in August 2014, the FBI initiated an assessment of Ahmaud Rahami based on comments made by his father after a domestic dispute that were subsequently reported to authorities. The FBI conducted internal database reviews, interagency checks, and multiple interviews, none of which revealed ties to terrorism. Meantime, two sources now confirmed to Fox News that writings recovered at the scene where Rahami was picked up included references to the al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden, who was killed by the Navy SEALs in 2011, as well as the American cleric Anwar al-Awlaki, who's really the father of the digital jihad. He was the first American targeted for death by the CIA and killed in a 2011 drone strike. It's worth noting that al-Awlaki was the source of inspiration for the terrorist who shot dead 49 at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. And despite the very public statements we've had from authorities, two sources insist the view among the rank and file investigators in New York, New Jersey, as well as at the federal level here in Washington, is that the search is not over and that it seems unlikely at this point, based on the evidence and how the events unfolded, that Rahami was acting completely alone, Juan.
Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So let me ask you, what do you think? Did the FBI flub this?
Listen, I was a big fan of law enforcement, and definitely know so many people in the Bureau, and they do a phenomenal job, and obviously to be commended for being able to get him into custody and locate him, and people seeing something, saying something. Everything worked right there. Now, in terms of the circumstances here, we're at least hearing some initial reports, but we have not been able to verify for sure the veracity of the statements saying that he reported this. So we cannot...
You mean the father?
Yeah, to say that, okay, this is something that they missed. If they went and talked to him, they have to make a threat assessment at the time. And you just wonder what is sufficient to trigger further scrutiny and review to be able to devote manpower, resources, agents to it, to follow it up. And then what's the protocol for what period of time to do this? So obviously you don't want to hear something like this because you want to get it right, because they just need to get it right one time and look at what happened. And we're just lucky that despite, the injuries, etc., that there wasn't a loss of life in this circumstances.
Can I ask Kimberly something too on that? Because the suspect didn't initially talk, but it would be wise for him to talk, because if there are other bombs, if he did have help, if one of those bombs actually ends up hurting somebody, then he can be held responsible, if I understand that correctly.
Yes, exactly. As an aider and abetter or a co-conspirator could add further time onto his charges. And this is why it's good that he was taken alive. And what Juan mentioned yesterday, he was able to get that quick medical treatment, because that's an information, rich source of intel right there that you can find out who was he speaking to. Was there any kind of potential cell that he was operating in? Were other family members involved? Are there other potential explosive devices planted in different areas? What does he know through different contacts that lead threads to another potential terror incident that could be, basically, positioned to happen in the future that we could maybe prevent by information from him? Well, that's what I think is important.
One of the interesting things, Brian, is that according to the FBI, this guy was a ghost online. He did not have a profile where he was in contact, direct contact
He doesn't need to text him. He kept going there. Going to Afghanistan and Pakistan. We'll be in touch. I'll see you soon. His wife disappears 3 weeks ago. His wife disappears. His mom disappears 3 months ago. At which time he's in constant contact with somebody. There's no way this guy, logic tells you, there's no way this guy acted alone.
Right.
There's no way he's sitting in the second floor, what amounts to a lean-to, with 4 other people, where they're like, wonder what he's doing with that huge pot on the surface and his Christmas lights. Logic tells you there's something there. And Dana, to your point, yeah, he could talk right now. But he doesn't care. He's never seen the light of day again. And the biggest surprise for him probably is that he nodded off and survived in a doorway, which is bizarre. I don't know what he was on that he couldn't stay conscious for 24 hours after the whole world's looking for him. But I really think the FBI, in a way, is overworked and understaffed. If you think about it, Orlando, they knew about him. San Bernardino, they knew about him. New York, New Jersey, they knew about him. We knew about him. We didn't clamp down on him. If they want more restraints and more freedom, let's hear it. If not, get them more people.
But it's
and
triage.
If not, there's a problem.
It's triage.
But Dana, I'm sorry, Greg, you want to jump in?
Well, no, there is an overarching thread to all of these. Okay, the father accuses the son of being a terrorist. That makes him Islamophobic, right? The father's Islamophobic.
It's not an easy thing to do, to turn your son in.
No, but I'm getting to the point is, in all of these cases, you have to be so careful as an investigator when you're making an accusation like that, that you could lose your career, because if you appear as being bigoted, because we live in a climate that if you actually see something and you say something, you end up being something, which is unpopular, and perhaps you might get demoted. You look at these last 4 attacks. Yeah, you look at the last 4 attacks in Orlando, New York, Philly, San Bernardino. They all were traveling. They were all traveling to Pakistan, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia. So here you have needles in a haystack that are sending you a helpful signal. You can actually see these needles moving. Why not profile travel? That's not racist. That's it's traveling.
Specific.
Yeah.
But now, Dana, I was going to say to you that the local office here in New York, the FBI office, said there is no evidence of a cell.
Well, and that might be true, but it's early on in the investigation, and I think we got so much new information today, more information from hearing from the father, that it's a little bit too early for them to say that. And remember, the last time the government said, oh, there's nothing to see here, there was actually more to see, so I would wait. The other thing I wanted to point out is, 2 points. The FBI, remember James Comey last year tells us that there are open investigations in all 50 states. That probably means multiple people in all 50 states. I would think that one of the things that the government needs to think about and taxpayers need to think about is the FBI under-resourced. And do they need more? Do they need different laws? Do they need different rules? But also, do they need more people, recruitment, training, and that? And we're going to have to decide, are we willing to pay for that? And if we're not willing to increase the budget, then what are we willing to give up? The other thing I would point out is that there's a very interesting article, the front page of the cover story of Weekly Standard this current week by Steve Hayes and Tom Jocelyn about Guantanamo Bay and President Obama's determination to close it. In it, it says that President Obama is convinced that Gitmo is the big recruiting tool for terrorists. That is not the evidence in any of these cases for these guys. It has all been traced back to either bin Laden, but most importantly, al-Awlaki. No one's talking about Gitmo anymore, but we're on the path to closing it down.
That's a good point. All right. It was a very powerful image yesterday to see a guy suspected of such heinous crimes being attended to by EMTs and given all of his rights, all the rights he's entitled to as a U.S. citizen. Another reminder of how great this country is, in my opinion. In America, we even treat bad guys with dignity. Trump, however, lamenting the treatment given to Rahami. He even suggests we maybe should treat him as an enemy combatant.
He will be taken care of by some of the best doctors in the world. He will be given a fully modern and updated hospital room. And he'll probably even have room service, knowing the way our country is. Congress should pass measures to ensure that foreign enemy combatants are treated as such. These are enemies, these are combatants.
You hear the same thing from Senator Graham of South Carolina, and basically the distinction is here, if he's treated as an enemy combatant, Greg, then he has no Miranda rights and no right to counsel, no lawyer.
Yeah. Well, first, Trump is really like the guy at the bar or the bartender. Absolutely. This is exactly what if you go into a place, this is exactly what you're going to hear. And it's like, this is crazy. Why are we treat him? Now, obviously, we give him the medical care because we want him to survive so we can get info out of him. We don't want him to die. We want to protect him so that we can use him. We're using him.
So we can drain him.
Yeah, we can drain him dry, and then we'll kill him. But I agree. I agree, though, that you with Trump and with Graham, Senator Graham, that you should lose your rights. You know, when Islamism declares that the world is a battlefield, it is no longer up to our idealism to dictate response. Once you go jihadist, you forfeit your status as a citizen. We have to. This is a new world. It's not the same world anymore.
Well, not only that, the Boston police chief agrees with Greg and agrees with Trump. He said we delayed the reading of Miranda rights to the Tsarnaev brothers because we had to get the most information as quickly as possible to stop the next attack. And I would argue that it's the same thing here. There's an urgency. Not deny, delay. Why not look at him and who he is and understand that all of us, especially was on 23rd, 10 blocks away. You can say it's personal. All of us are somewhat at risk.
But as I understand it, he has not been read his Miranda rights yet. He's been charged locally, but he has not faced yet any federal charges.
I understand it's because of his medical condition that he has not been lawyered up yet, but it's been no legal decision yet.
That's smart.
That's the key. Now, Judge Napolitano, Dana, says he has constitutional rights. He's an American citizen.
That's right.
What do you say?
Well, I mean, when we had a big battle here in this country after Ed Snowden released all the nation's secrets, and it was a question of privacy and all. I mean, American citizens should not be spied upon. They should not do this or that. He is, whether we like it or not, he is an American citizen. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons that we treat him at the hospital is because it's another part of just who we are as an exceptional nation. So we are a nation of laws, and that's why I do it. And also at a hospital, the reason you get room service is because you're strapped to a bed and you can't get food to yourself.
To the vending machine down the hall?
But like, it's, yeah.
Take a change of $1.
And go down to the cafeteria like when you're up and able to walk around. But I don't think we would want that. Like right now, I think staying in his room is probably the best thing.
My goodness gracious. He can get some of that, the family restaurant, the chicken.
Hey, Senator Graham said something really interesting. Kimberly, he said you can first designate him as an enemy combatant and then try him as a civilian. Would that work?
Well, I mean, it's definitely one approach. You can try it, right? It can always come back on appeal. But nevertheless, you brought up something else, too, in terms of the exigent circumstances, public safety. When you have someone, and there's clear and compelling, I think, convincing evidence. Oh, my God. You have a bomb in Jersey. You've got multiple different sites with explosive devices, IEDs. I mean, give me a break. You have an obligation to keep the public safe. So whether you're an American citizen or not, then you would be able to go in to say, let me see if I can sit you down and get some information and appeal to you, you know, as a family person at this, anything you do to try to be able to get information. Or does he have someone else that he's working with? Like Dana said, and Catherine Herridge said, it becomes very apparent that he wasn't just a solo actor.
He may be the leader.
Who else is out? Perhaps. Exactly. But who, and by the way,
they really can't
who else is he influenced?
I don't think
who else is he
could have been the guy that they just
brought in or
used.
radicalized?
They could have.
They could have just been the guy that they used. They put him out there. He's not the leader, but he's the guy that gets caught first.
But the other thing we didn't talk about, we don't have time for, but I'll just make the quick point. It's the domestic violence connection to the women, and that it's repeated in these instances.
But
the
anti-gay thing is important because the left prefers to focus on the homophobia of Christians. You know, they don't want to bake a cake, and that's horrible. But they can no longer escape the hypocrisy of not facing the anti-gay element of Islamism. It's cowardice to go after the Christians and not go after Islamism.
Let me emphasize your point that he apparently told his ex-wife now that he was appalled at the presence of homosexuality in the United States, but he said there's no homosexuality in Afghanistan. Yeah. You're looking live at a Trump rally in North Carolina. We're keeping an eye on it. If Trump makes any news, we'll bring it to you right here on The Five. Otherwise, you can watch it live on FoxNews.com. Ahead, Donald Trump renews his call to start profiling to prevent more terror attacks. We'll debate that next.
If we want to stop terrorists before they strike again, we're going to need to start profiling, according to Donald Trump.
You want to profile Arab or Muslim men. How would that work?
Well, then we have no choice. Look, Israel does it, and Israel does it very successfully.
Are you worried that sometimes when you say these things that peaceful Muslims will be the victim of backlash, the victim of people just lumping everybody into the terror jar?
Well, first of all, I never said the term Muslim. You did. You told me Muslims. I didn't say that.
All right, one of his advisors, Middle East expert Wali Faris, agrees.
I was just in Egypt, as you just mentioned. What did I do there? I met with the top Muslim clerics, the Ministry of Religious Affairs, and I asked them, how do you do it? How do you make a differentiation between extreme and not extreme? They told me, you've got to identify the ideology. This is exactly what we're not doing in America.
Because they do extreme vetting there.
They do extreme vetting. They have the tools for the extreme vetting because they know what the ideology is.
Wow, weird. That guy on the sofa had your same suit on.
I would never wear a vest. I would never wear a vest on the show. On cable.
It doesn't work. It's like a corset.
It's tighter than I would think. It was one of these it's one of these Italian suits. This guy comes in with a hatchback and makes a suit on the spot.
And you're like,
you wear this because after you have lipo, you have to keep that area tight, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I don't want to reveal too many into the final block of the show.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, back to the top of the hand.
Meanwhile, the producers, because they know about this being a real show, said you're wasting valuable time. Okay, back to the business at hand. So you had Waleed on this morning, and he has a very specific viewpoint on this.
And he did. And he's building on the fact that he had a meeting with Donald Trump and al-Sisi,
yes,
as well as General Michael Flynn. And he says, listen, the way we do it right now, we have a huge problem in Egypt, and the problem is Islamic extremists. This is a Muslim country, a Sunni Muslim country, and we have to weed it out. And the way we do that is we do essentially, these are my words, he had a different word for it, but extreme profiling. And he actually recommended that we kind of do the same thing, even though he has a different philosophy than our democratic setup right now. They are in a state of crisis in Egypt and are trying to stabilize things. And we are gone the other way, where when we have an APB out for an Arab or Muslim, we can't even name the skin color. We tell them their height and their hair color, and maybe their eye color if no one's offended.
Right, and then we get confused. We don't know if they're looking for Dana or me.
Yeah, we don't really know.
The blonde or the brunette. Okay, and so perhaps that's also he advised Trump with respect to his policy that he says about extreme vetting.
Yes,
Dana.
and what it would basically, as Dana knows, you have to be able to hunt people down, but you got to do it while holding on to.
You know what Greg said earlier? It's like we're at a bar. It's like we're at a bar, and this is the guy at the bar, the bartender, and he's just mouthing off. Because last night, I'm waiting on a rally. I'm waiting for Trump to say, "Oh, this is how I do it. This is the method. This is how I target people." And then he says, not only that, I'm not talking about Muslims. I'm wondering, what is he talking about? Except he's appealing to fear and anger in the society.
Okay, Dana.
I didn't understand the part of why he said he wasn't talking about that. The other thing in terms of being too PC is when they release the name of the suspect. Okay, and it's obviously an Islamic name or an Arabic name, and you still can't say that there might be some sort of connection to terror. Like, I think we know enough now about that. The other thing I'm interested in, aside from however you target or you profile, whatever you call it, that could be a fine line, it's how do we start to deal with this moment of radicalization? For example, the fathers have said, do the tough thing and say, I'm turning in my son, because there is something that triggers it, and can we do a better job of catching it before it happens? And part of it is the travel. When you go, that's where you go and get your blessing and your information, and you get excited about it.
It said the FBI said there were secondary screenings on 2 of his trips, that they stopped him and did another screening, but there was no red flag.
But for some reason, they took his passport when he was in Afghanistan. If you do something to violate the people of Afghanistan, you've really pushed the bar a long way.
It's really true.
What upset me today was when President Obama was talking about globalization and people coming from here and people going there. And they said that, in America, we shouldn't fear people who look different from us.
No kidding.
He's got it completely wrong. It's not about race. It's about ideas. If you're talking about Egypt, where everybody is essentially, you have a few Christians, but a lot of Arabs. So it's not about appearance. They are doing vetting based on pernicious, toxic, deadly ideas. Right. That's what we should be doing. The best prevention known to man is the immune system. We talk about our physical, our body, the fact that, our body, human body is free to engage with foreign agents because we rely on an immune system. That is the hardening of a soft target. That's why you're healthy. That's the way we should be thinking about it. Another way to think about it is...
But we have a compromised immune system.
Yeah,
it's a great analogy.
Yeah, we have a compromised immune system. We're the beacon of light that attracts all of these poor people from other countries to come here because they want to be free. But in order to preserve that beacon of light, we have to keep out the people who want to put the light out. Right. The only way you can have a safe haven is if it is truly safe and protected. So when we are quote profiling, we're actually protecting the refugees that want to come here because we're ferreting out the people that want to destroy the very reason why you come here. Refugees are leaving a place that is horrible, or else they wouldn't be leaving. Why bring that horribleness to here and eliminate the safe haven?
That's not racial profiling.
Yeah.
That's not religious profiling, is it?
No.
And that's the question. That's what gets the objection from the left that you so loathe. But the objection would be a violation of your constitutional rights on the basis of your faith or on the basis of
But I think it's okay. I will say this.
Yeah, but you're talking about people who don't have the rights yet.
Look, let's be honest. Islamism is faith. It's the most extreme faith. For some people, they believe it's their best faith. So it is religious profiling if you ask somebody, hey, how do you feel about Sharia law? The problem is they might lie.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
That's the big one. And what if they say they're a communist? We don't keep communists out of here.
We should.
Oh, okay.
But you'd be the first to go, Juan.
Yeah, Juan, next week, stand by.
When the father came, he was against the Taliban. He is, the son is 7 years old and he comes here. It's the radicalization part. Like the father opened a business, might have been a business that annoyed all the neighbors, but he was an entrepreneur. He was trying to live the American dream.
American chicken.
Son, and so I don't know how you ferret that out.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean,
maybe listen to the dad. Yeah, I mean, the dad was
their dad word for it.
And we've talked about that, about peaceful, law-abiding Muslims that want to be here, that left a horrible place, that want to be here and be safe and have public safety and have good communities and safety for their children. So that's why you got to...
Underwear bomber, same thing. Dad said, I'm a little worried about my son. And next thing you know, his underwear's exploding.
Yeah.
Thank God not.
I had that problem.
It looks like your vest might explode, too.
Oh, my God, they're picking on you, buddy.
Next, Obama's always said Donald Trump's not going to win the White House. But is he starting to get worried that he could beat Hillary? Greg is going to fill us in on all that.
I will. It's official. President Obama is scared. How do you know? He's getting desperate. On Sunday, he said sexism is hurting Hillary's White House bid. Yeah, sexism, because she's a woman. This from some no-name guy who stole a woman's job 8 years ago. Remember that? Everyone knew Hillary. No one knew him, yet he just cut in front of her. Why? Sexism, obviously. And back then, being the first black, Trump being the first female. Lucky for them, no transgendered Native American was running, or both of their clocks would have been cleaned. But whining about sexism reveals Obama knows Hillary's in trouble. When all else fails, blame patriarchy. Still, it's weird that you're sexist for not voting for Hillary because she's a woman, but it's okay to vote for Hillary because she's a woman. But Obama's grasping at more straws than Michael Moore at a milkshake factory, which is why the president made this plea on Saturday.
After we have achieved historic turnout in 2008 and 2012, especially in the African-American community, I will consider it a personal insult, an insult to my legacy, if this community lets down its guard and fails to activate itself in this election. You want to give me a good send-off? Go vote!
It's amazing. If only he took terror this personally. Maybe he's panicked. It's like he just woke up, realized he's late for a final for a class he blew off all semester because Hillary, frankly, could blow this thing. Trump has momentum because Hillary has no momentum, a word that I just invented.
Banned.
It's a gradual drop that didn't stop on that curb in New York. And Obama's worried if it ever will.
Oof, that's good.
All right, Dana, he seems a bit concerned. He wasn't so concerned before, right?
I think that they are, talking to some people today, I think that they believe that she has the fundamentals in place.
Right.
All the, like all the blocks, bricks and mortar that you need for a campaign.
Get out the vote, ground
Yeah,
game.
she could blow it.
Yeah.
And, but the thing about him saying that he would be personally insulted, so I'm not personally persuaded by that. Obviously, I'm not the audience. But if you listen to the audience, they went nuts. And they cheered and they loved it. So when he's talking about sexism, he's very good at targeting the audience that he's talking to. So that goes to one group. And this point about as the first African American president, if she doesn't win, he'll take it as a personal insult. That works with another group. It's not going to work with me necessarily.
Yeah.
He's addressing the Congressional Black Caucus. They were cheering from the moment he walked in. He said, if you don't vote for me, essentially, you are essentially saying this, Trump is a repudiation of everything that he has done for the last 8 years. Exactly. People do not like what he did for the last 8 years. The stimulus package, Obamacare, friends with Cuba, the Iranian deal, the worst ever, the lack of action on Syria, pulling out all the troops in Iraq. Why can't somebody be a repudiation of what you were? Like, for example, you reportedly were repudiation of what George Bush was. Why was that okay?
That's true, the pendulum.
You know, I love your fantasy. I really, I'm
what did I say
by
that wasn't logical?
Oh, I'll tell you what.
Okay.
The American people right now, I think one poll I saw had Obama rated 58% positive. Oh my gosh, that's stunning for an age of polarization where nobody agrees on anything.
Highest ever.
Everybody, it's unbelievable. 58%.
But Juan,
no, let me say something else.
Could you like
what about
Obama?
Michelle Obama?
Could you
Michelle Obama at 64%?
But that you just proved my point. Michelle Obama isn't the president.
Right.
Is it possible that people can like somebody and still think they're a bad president?
It's possible, but I'm telling you right now,
what else you're seeing.
what we know about the American public is they're not dumb. They're looking at things like the stock market. They're looking at unemployment. They're looking at their personal finances.
And why is Trump president?
Yeah, but
why
like,
are they in a flat-footed tie and she's running his entire agenda?
It's a terrible
because Americans feel that the country is going in the wrong direction, despite they might have, personal politics where they like President Obama. He is likable. He's a great public speaker. He's fired up because it is his legacy at stake. He does not want her to trip on the curb come Election Day. He wants her to deliver the White House so that he can keep intact his legacy and not have Trump repudiate it, as we've said. I think that's what this is about.
I think a lot of people
He's
right
fired
now,
up about himself and climate change.
a lot of people, I think, respond to what President Obama said at the UN today. That we are, what he said was, you know what, there are a lot of people who are angry over globalization, who feel threatened by it, especially people who think the trade is bad for their employment prospects. And those people are the ones who are creating nationalist parties in Europe. They voted for Brexit in London.
Are they bad people? Are they wrong?
Are they wrong?
Are they
yes.
wrong? So the people that don't agree with them is wrong?
No, I'm just telling you, there's a report out even today about how limits on trade would hurt the American economy and cause us to lose jobs.
I just want to, I got to move on here because they're talking to me, but I'm glad you brought up Brexit because this is exactly what President Obama did. He criticized the Brits, saying if you do Brexit, you're at the end of the line.
And what happened?
And what happened? Right. And so now he's doing the same thing, essentially saying, well, they're a bunch of sexists. It's egregious to me that he calls Americans sexist. He never goes after Islamism for their misogyny. Does he?
No, he's only fired up about climate change and Hillary blowing it. There you go.
That was a fair point.
Thank you, Juan.
And that Donald Trump is unqualified and unfit for the office. If they said about that a 48-year-old one-term senator, there'd be outrage from sea to shining sea.
Oh, they did say it.
Right?
Please.
Who did?
I think
Hillary Clinton.
I think I said it. All right.
Please stand when you say sea to sea.
New details on what to expect at Trump and Clinton's first debate coming up this Monday. Stay tuned.
One of the most highly anticipated debates in U.S. history is just 6 days away. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump will square off for the first time on Monday at New York's Hofstra University. We're going to be there. NBC's Lester Holt will moderate. We now know what the general topics will be. America's direction, achieving prosperity, and securing America. So basically that's everything. What we don't know is how it's all going to play out.
Which Trump are you going to get? Do you have any idea what? Because he seems to be changing a bit.
Well, look, he's trying to somehow convince people to forget everything he's said and done, and I don't think that he's going to get away with that.
If she treats me with respect, I will treat her with respect. It really depends. People ask me that question, oh, you're going to go out there and do this and that. I really don't know that. You're going to have to feel it out when you're out there. But she's got to treat me with respect. I'm going to treat her with respect.
So I've got an interesting way to watch the debates. It's not going to happen this time because I'm actually going to be there. I can't do this. But in 2012, you know how I watched them? I had TV on, but I had it on mute, and then I followed it on Twitter, but I would watch. And watching the visual cues, when you're doing television, they say watch it with the sound off to see if you're persuasive. So can he appear presidential? Can she appear likable, even if you're just passing by through the living room? What do you think of that theory?
Yeah, no, I think it is true because it's part of being the message. It's part of communicating, verbal, nonverbal. And then also I thought was interesting in terms of what he said is that it sounds like if he feels she insults him, that he's going to bite back, but that he wouldn't draw.
But what's the insult tolerance level at this stage of the game? It's the first debate. They have 3 to go. Or 3 total.
I don't want to overplay this debate, but this is the most dramatic conflict since Cain and Abel.
It's not overplaying.
Since Cain and Abel.
It's a draw.
You know what I love about this?
You're understating it.
No, you know what I love about this? Let me finish. Okay. It's against Monday Night Football, which is on ESPN, right? So this is a presidential debate that may be less political than football. There'll be more controversy at football. By the way, she's got to appear pretty strong because she's fading faster than a Labor Day suntan, and she doesn't have an enthusiasm gap. She has an enthusiasm canyon. For Democrats, voting for her is like flossing. They don't like it.
The only person prepared for this debate adequately is Dana Perino. And you know why? Because, Dana, you know what it's like to work a panel, and after Sunday, you know what it's like to work a one-on-one show. And Donald Trump only knows what it's like to work a panel when he's got a full stage of people or maybe 3 others. He does not know what it's like to be one-on-one and go right back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And Lester Holt isn't a very verbose person, so therefore there's really going to be a lot of exchanges. And that's why I say, if you could handle Stirewalt and handle these 4 other people, you're the only one prepared for what is actually going to happen at Hofstra.
Well, that's good thing you'll be there.
Imagine if I said, "Hey, Dana, what about your husband? What about
Peter?
No, I'm pretending that you're Hillary.
No, I knew what you meant.
Okay.
I got it.
You mean whose legacy I have to totally give up and deny and repudiate because I've chosen Barack Obama over my husband?
How about this? And Dana, what's this about your health? And how come you haven't been on the campaign trail lately? You need rest, Dana?
So it'll be interesting. We'll see. I think about Lester Holt. What do you think is going through his mind?
What a nice.
Well, I think obviously Matt Lauer is going through his mind.
Yeah, right.
Isn't he?
So, but this is what Trump is just so, at the whole thing about the system's rigged, and they don't like me, and the media is set against me. So I think he puts Lester Holt on his
He tried to say he was a
back,
registered Democrat, then it came out there's actually a Republican, and who knows?
Who knows?
I think he'll be professional.
Lester Holt's a very nice man. He's very. I like him a lot. Don't you? Remember he was at our
And he
same
can play a
hotel?
musical instrument. I've seen him in a band.
Yeah, I think he's great.
Yes, he
Good
does.
choice.
Well, that surely makes him qualified.
6 15-minute segments. I do think it's going to be fascinating. I do think her health is going to come up. In fact, today she took the day off, evidently, from public, and he went after her for that.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
But the question, doing debate prep.
Here's the thing, from the other perspective, from the Democrats' perspective, what if Trump just says, no, I'm standing here, I'm here, I look presidential, I'm moderate, I'm reasonable.
Good. That's what he needs to do.
Yeah.
If he blows a nuclear triad question, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's how he holds himself. That's why they want him to explode. That's why they're reviewing all the tapes, Hillary personally, to find his hot button to get him to explode. Then it's game over.
It gives me anxiety just thinking about preparing for a debate. I wouldn't want to be that person, either of them, because it's a lot to get ready for. We have got a Brangelina alert for you. This is a first on the 5. Big breaking news on Hollywood's most famous couple ahead.
All right, they were the most famous couple on the planet since Adam and Eve. Yes, were. If you have not heard, you might want to sit down. If you're like us, you're sitting already. Brad and Angelina are divorcing. It's true. Jolie filed the paperwork on Monday, citing irreconcilable differences, and she expanded from there. Her attorney says she made the decision for the health of her family. She's seeking physical custody of their 6 kids. Pitt gave a statement and said something like this. I'm very saddened by this, but what matters most is the well-being of our kids. I kindly ask the press to give them the space they deserve during the challenging time. And we do feel bad for the kids. But in terms of the couple, the most famous couple on the planet, this is rumored for a while. The fact that it was rumored, does it soften the blow for you, Greg?
Yeah, I'm emotionally devastated by this. Remember, Brad and Angelina claimed that they weren't going to get married until gays could marry. So now that they're getting divorced, I believe we must end gay marriage.
Wait a second.
Dismantle the whole thing. No, this is a huge story on Twitter. It's amazing how many millions of people are more concerned about this than terror.
Right.
That disturbs me. People find pleasure in the misfortunes of the fortunate.
She, evidently, they're saying that the word is he smoked too much pot, drank too much, and gets kind of angry. Juan?
You just described
the word.
Everybody at this table.
Right.
You know what fascinates me about this story is the idea that he was cheating on her with an actress named
Maria Cotillard.
Yeah,
but I never heard of her. What?
He started with her in World War II. That's the problem.
Said that's not true.
The problem with being forced to make out with someone to make a living. He had to make out with her. What? How do you do that and not suddenly feel as though the emotions are real? That's why I don't yell cut. Do you cut?
It's why I don't do Lou Dobbs' show anymore.
That's smart of you.
Yeah,
right. Career move.
Right. Yeah. And as soon as he gets cable, he's going to yell at you. Dana?
When she says that he would get angry, I think that's actually most women's complaint about husbands. If the one thing that really bothers them the most is if the husband is an angry guy. That really bothers you.
Really? More than anything else?
My husband is not an angry guy. But
he is. He's happy. Because he's married to you.
Jolly and British,
and he sings and he tells really good.
I don't
jokes.
like angry.
Good company. Good dinner.
Kimberly
company.
like angry?
What?
You like angry?
No.
No.
Right.
No.
Here's
what
what
did Dana just tell you?
Here's what worries me the most.
Yeah. Okay.
According to his friend, he's in the throes of some insane middle-life crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, if Brad Pitt is the most famous guy in the world, the most beautiful woman in the world, with a wonderful family, and he's having a midlife crisis, we're all in trouble.
I know what the answer is.
What?
Vest.
Wear a vest.
Maybe nothing else. Nothing else. No shirt, just a vest.
I think they're gonna both land on their feet. Angelina Jolie, a great humanitarian, much like you, Juan.
Oh, is that right? Well, I don't know. I mean, gosh, he's very handsome and very rich. I'm sure he'll do well. And Angelina Jolie, I think she's a gorgeous woman. But I must say, I thought Brad Pitt deserved a lot of kudos for the way he handled the double mastectomy. I think she said that he was extremely supportive. She never had to doubt her beauty or her love or his love during that time. And I always think, man, that's an example.
Well, she was
that
very
is
brave.
a great
She
way
did
to
that
end it. It's on
because
an
of the
upbeat, and let's just hope this doesn't become a big
analysis.
public spectacle, because Dana won't be able to
And
get
we
any
pray
rest.
for the children, and they were together for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, they waited 10 years before they got married. Anyway, it's sad. I hope they co-parent together and work out the differences.
A river runs through it now. Now a huge gap.
Who gets the pot plants?
I think it's his, and that's the problem.
But she gets the visit?
One more thing, and it won't include this couple, next.
Well, welcome back. It's time now for one more thing, and I'm going to go first because I know a lot of people who are undecided about who they're going to vote for in November. Well, as a public service, The Five and the Wall Street Journal have put together some options for you other than Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. How about God? That's right, God. God is apparently from Staten Island, New York, and has registered with the Federal Election Commission to run in this year's presidential race. Also wanting to get on the ballot, according to the FEC, Darth Vader. That's right. And finally, my favorite outsider trying to run is one of my childhood heroes, Captain Crunch. However, it's unclear whether the captain and any of these other candidates will pass the FEC's vetting process.
You're going to vote for Darth Vader, right? Because you love Star Wars.
No, I like Captain Crunch.
Well, because you like a military man.
Dana.
Okay, well, I got a kick out of this little story out of Australia. So this family is worried that their daughter is missing. Okay, so they send out, they call the police, they say, our daughter is missing. So the police, in order to try to find her, put something on her Facebook page. And just a couple minutes later, she replies, she goes, I'm in my room.
Oh, my.
Okay? Like, this is an overreaction, and the police then had to say, but we actually have to see you now because it's been reported. You either have to call us or we have to. So it's just a family misunderstanding, but this is how things happen in the real world.
No Amber Alert needed.
Do all the members of the family have weird faces?
Yes, it's absolutely.
We would be respectful in blurring the face of the child because she's 17. She was just in her room, though.
I wouldn't want.
Can you imagine? Like, I'm legit
Gregory,
in my room.
It's your turn.
I got an article up at foxnews.com/opinion. It's my latest take on the terror attacks from over the weekend. I urge you to read it. Now for this. Greg's birthday news. Very excited. Mitch McConnell turned 50. I think we have some pictures of him getting a watermelon cake. It's amazing how tasty that can be.
That is not right.
Actually, I'm joking. I'm joking. We love Mitch McConnell. Actually, Cerro the tortoise from Perth. He's at the Perth Galapagos Zoo. I'm sorry, the Perth Zoo. It's a Galapagos tortoise, as I mutilate this. So he's 50 years old.
I thought you were going to say Bill O'Reilly.
No, I wasn't going to say Bill O'Reilly.
Why don't turtles ever
Change your
talk?
mind. Yeah,
Turtles have the best life ever. They got their own home.
All right.
They're brilliant, Miss Guilford.
Thank you so much. So this is a really interesting story. When Chris Jones was 5 years of age, he almost died by drowning at a hotel swimming pool in Columbus, Ohio. So thanks to the actions of this officer here, James Poole, interesting play on words,
yes.
He lived. Last Friday, about 19 years later, 24-year-old Jones finally got the chance to thank Officer Poole for saving his life. Take a look at this.
Yeah, remember me? No, that's about 1997. Almost 5 years out of the swimming pool. Saved his life. Wow. Because of you, I'm still here. Because of you. This 5-year-old little girl right here is here.
And isn't that so sweet? And then
Always
Jones
make me cry.
introduced him
One more thing.
to his daughter.
Brian, your turn.
Last night, Kevin Can Wait went on CBS, and why I really think Kevin James is my true idol is he was Kevin, the retired cop from Massapequa, my hometown that I still live in today. Look at that. Massapequa everywhere. Massapequa on the shirt, Massapequa on the sweater. The retired cop from Massapequa. Why was I not delved into this? I could have been the expert, the guy on the set needed and leaned on to find out what authenticity in television is all about. It would have been my first sitcom ever, but I wasn't leaned on and looked at. Kevin James put me on the show.
Why don't you invite him on Fox and Friends?
I should put him on.
Can't wait.
All right.
Either can Kevin.
Set your DVR so you never miss an episode of The Five. That's it for a special report next.